Good evening and welcome to the Guilderland Central School District's Board of Education meeting. Today is October 1st, 2024. We'd like to begin by asking everyone to silence their cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the first item on our agenda is to begin our employee recognition. So I'll turn it over to Regan.
Thank you, Blanca. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 46th Annual Employee Recognition Ceremony. It is a pleasure to lead the recognition ceremony tonight. Before we start the program, we wanted to begin with a video that our very talented communications department created appropriately named This is Guilderland. The Employee Recognition Awards are an important part of the fabric that makes our district very special, and this video certainly highlights that theme.
We're not standing still, we're leading the way. We empower our students to elevate their voices, to advocate for their priorities, to lean into their curiosity and contemplate the unknown, to innovate new horizons.
Electrify team signing out!
Express themselves creatively, and communicate to connect. We're achieving academic success through community.
All right, in the crosswalk, everybody, in the crosswalk.
We support, we encourage, and we stand together.
1, 2, 3.
Unify!
This is Guilderland, where self-expression matters. Our faculty and staff draw out the best in our students to create lifelong learners.
Alright, yeah, good job!
Our commitment to lifting each other up runs deep. We welcome a culture that's supportive and respectful, where each and every student has the opportunity to thrive and to follow the path that's right for them. We're changing our world by empowering our students. This is Guilderland.
So before we get started, I wanted to say a few thank yous, and a special thank you to our Human Resource Confidential Administrative Professionals, Kim Tenike and Tammy McGill, as well as our communications team for all the hard work behind the scenes to make tonight's celebration memorable for our recipients. I'd also like to thank Employee Recognition Committee. The committee members include an administrator, Anne-Marie Holmes, administrative professional Lisa Peck, teacher Mike Schaefer, teaching assistant Kelly Ragone, and principal Dr. Beth Beanie. These dedicated individuals are responsible for many of the details for this evening. In the 1970s, when the Board of Education authorized the establishment of a committee to review the names of Guilderland employees who have made outstanding contributions, the Guilderland Employee Recognition Award was born. These individuals are nominated by their colleagues and chosen by a committee of their peers. Over the years, more than 500 employees have been recipients of this award. The criteria for nominations includes, but is not limited to, dedicated years of loyal service, assuming leadership roles outside of their assignment, demonstrating a pattern of inspiring others, displaying innovative or initiative demonstrating special acts and going above and beyond the normal expectations, or for making a significant impact on our students and or our employees. This evening, we are honoring 12 outstanding individuals. And at this time, I would like to invite our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Marie Wiles, to say a few words.
Thank you, Regan, and welcome to everyone. I am just so pleased to be able to bring all of us together today for what is really probably the best board meeting of the year, because what we are doing is really celebrating the people, the very best of our people who make our mission happen. And we shared our video, This is Guilderland Tonight, just to remind everybody that this is the work that we do. And the only way we can do it is because of the amazing people we have in every building, in every role, who come to work every day and literally make the magic happen. And it's just so wonderful to celebrate that time with all of you. You probably don't know this, but 14 years ago today was my first day of work here in Guilderland. I know it does not seem possible. I used to be taller, but that's okay. And my very first board meeting as the sitting superintendent was the board meeting where we began this tradition. And I remember thinking all those years ago, what an amazing place to come and do the important work of teaching and learning and leading, a place that truly values each and every person who comes here to serve our students. So I'm really honored to be here tonight, and I'm really honored to be among such amazing employees that just do us proud each and every day on the good days, and you know we have them in the not so good days, but they're all good for our students when we serve them well and we make sure that they succeed. So thank you and congratulations to all of you who are gathered here tonight. You, each and every one of you, deserve this great recognition. Thanks so much.
At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Wiles and Blanca Gonzalez-Parker to assist with recognize our employees. We're going to invite our speakers up to say a few words about our recipients. But before I do that, I want to say another thank you. And so the family and the colleagues who are here tonight and share your loved ones with us and to be able to do what they do. And that's a very special thing. And so I want to thank our family and our colleagues who are here tonight supporting our winners. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first presenter this evening. Our presenters will share a little bit about the recipient, and then they're going to introduce the next presenter. So first up, batting leadoff from Linwood Elementary, Mrs. Jackie Vandenberg.
Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure to get the chance to speak on behalf of two amazing and deserving Linwood teachers tonight. To start, I would like to share a few words about Mrs. Joan Clausen. When I received word that Joan was going to be honored tonight for her excellence in her work with her students and colleagues, I could think of no one more deserving than her. Mrs. Clausen has served as a teaching assistant in dozens of classrooms throughout Linwood since joining the team in 2009. As I'm speaking right now, I can quite literally hear the sigh of relief that I get every summer when I call teachers to tell them that Joan Clausen has been assigned to their classroom. The knowledge and expertise comes so naturally to Joan, and it is something that you truly cannot teach. She brings a sense of calm with her to every classroom she works in. Mrs. Clausen is masterful in anticipating a child's needs and giving them exactly what they need to be successful in their classes. When I watch her, I often think, if there was anybody born to do this work, it is her. I and myself and her colleagues can honestly say that through her intervention and support as a teaching assistant at Linwood, she has quite literally changed the trajectory for many of the students she has worked with. On top of that, it would be difficult for me to truly quantify how many parents and families have shared that Mrs. Clausen helped change the way their children felt about school and how they viewed themselves as students. She creates conditions where kids who struggle the most can feel and be successful. When I think about that, I'm not sure there is a more cherished gift an educator can give to students and families. On top of all this, Mrs. Clausen is an amazing teammate and someone that everyone, students and staff alike, can rely on and look to for advice. She is calm and level-headed, even in sometimes stressful situations. For all of the skills I've described tonight, Mrs. Clausen always makes it look easy, and most importantly, she makes it fun. And for that, I personally am most thankful. So tonight, I hope Ms. Clausen gets to soak up the impact that she has had on so many students, teachers, and families she works with, congratulations and thank you. Next up, I have the pleasure of introducing someone who I truly consider to be a Linwood legend, Mrs. Julia Healy. When I sat down to think about what I would share tonight, I found myself almost overwhelmed with where to even start. Though Mrs. Healy's technical title at Linwood is school librarian, the scope and impact of her work go far beyond the library walls. Mrs. Healy has dedicated over 20 years of service to the families and children of the Guilderland School District. I could honestly go on and on about her knowledge and love for books and children's literature, and I could list all the authors' visits that she's organized and all of the book teas that she's hosted for students and staff, all in an effort to inspire reading in students and staff members. But if I did that, we would truly be here all night. To me, what's really special about Mrs. Healy is that when I sat down to reflect on all the ways she is so deserving of this recognition, the things that came to my mind were all of the things that she does to go above and beyond, and all of those things that happen outside of the library walls. My first image is of students coming in each morning. Mrs. Healy is often the first face they see as they enter school. As I stand in the front of the building at arrival, I watch dozens of students come in and out of the library to get books, to say hi, and each one with a huge smile on their face. As the day goes on, the sea of students never stops, because if she's at school, she never closes the library. It doesn't matter if she's teaching a class, reshelving books, helping children pick out books, changing bulletin boards, helping a student settle down, or on the rare occasion, maybe eating her lunch. Students are always in the library. Mrs. Healy plans and directs our Share and Celebrate assemblies. She runs lunch groups. She provides assistance with the 1,000 Books program with the PTA. She assists on the most popular book fairs. She oversees the use of the Calming Corner at Linwood, and thanks to her, dozens of children have a new, safe place to decompress when needed. But perhaps the best thing about Mrs. Healy is that while doing all of this, she serves as a calm and consistent adult for so many children. In fact, if I had $1 for the amount of times I've heard students accidentally call Mrs. Healy Mom, I'd be rich. I share this because I think it perfectly speaks to the ease and calm that kids feel around her. Mrs. Healy truly is a bright light in education, and I'm thrilled that we get to take a moment to recognize her and her amazing work and her impact tonight. Congratulations, and thank you, Mrs. Healy. Next up, I invite Craig Lips, Director of Transportation.
I always have to do this. Anyways, good evening, everybody. I want to introduce a very important bus driver to y'all, Harry Merriman. Guilderland students are very lucky to have him on the staff here as well, as part of the school system. He's more than just a good guy. He genuinely cares about people. When he comes to work, he looks out for his coworkers. He looks out for the whole department. And when he's on his bus, he's looking out for his kids. He makes sure that their learning is going to start off in the right direction, getting to school. Every day, Harry finds creative ways to celebrate other people's successes. No matter how big the success may appear, he finds a way to celebrate it, to make sure that they know that they're awesome. So Gilderland students get off his bus knowing that they are awesome people. Harry, thank you for everything you do for us. All right, sorry about that. I tried to get away. Anyways, I'd like to introduce Dr. Alan Lockwood.
Good evening. It is my pleasure tonight to speak about Susan Herzog. Susan is a truly remarkable individual who serves as an administrative assistant at Guilderland Elementary School. In every aspect of her role, Susan embodies professionalism, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring the smooth operation of our school and the overall welfare of our students. Susan's contributions extend far beyond the confines of her job description. Each summer, she asks to come in before the beginning of her contract year in order to begin the laborious task of verifying the transportation arrangements for each and every student in the building, making countless calls to ensure that we have an accurate picture of where every student is supposed to go every day after school. Her attention to detail and tireless efforts have undoubtedly alleviated the concerns of countless parents, providing them with a reassurance that their children are in capable hands and helped ensure that no students are ever misplaced. To say that Susan is focused on this work is a bit of an understatement. I will forever have the picture in my mind of the year when our office was rebuilt and the construction work was running right up against the opening of the school year. Susan was continuing to check every student's bus plans, making phone calls to parents in the transportation department, all the while contractors were banging away all around her, and even standing on her desk, straddling her computer to hang blinds in the windows. But moreover, Susan plays a pivotal role in organizing our after-school activities, ensuring that teachers are well informed of their students' whereabouts, and that students are directed to the correct destinations upon dismissal. Her organizational skills and proactive approach have significantly contributed to the smooth running of these activities, fostering a positive and enriching environment for our students outside of regular classroom hours. As the first point of contact for visitors to our building, Susan embodies warmth, professionalism, and efficiency. Her welcoming demeanor and exceptional interpersonal skills create a favorable impression of our school, setting the tone for positive interactions and fostering a sense of community among all who enter. Furthermore, Susan's dedication to the well-being of our students extends beyond her administrative duties, whether it's lending a hand helping out in the nurse's office or volunteering to assist in the cafeteria or wherever help is needed. Susan consistently goes above and beyond to support our school community. Her selflessness, willingness to step in wherever she is needed, exemplify her deep commitment to serving others. In summary, Susan Herzog is more than just a secretary. She is the heart and soul of our school. It is an honor and a privilege to work beside her every day, and I am confident that her contributions will continue to positively impact our school community in the future. Congratulations, Susan. It is also my great pleasure to talk with you tonight about Michelle Evers. Michelle has taught at GES since 1999, and during those years she has taught in kindergarten, first, and most recently now in second grade. In all of these positions, she has truly shined. You see, Mrs. Evers is the kind of teacher who's able to create a classroom community that nurtures and supports students while also being a lot of fun and engaging. Over the last few years, Michelle has worked in a class with a number of students with special education needs, as well as English language learners. Mrs. Evers seamlessly coordinates these services and is able to work closely with special education and ENL teachers to provide for the academic and social-emotional needs for her students. Michelle has high expectations for her students, for each student in her class, and wants each student to produce work at the level that they're at. Each student feels successful after independent work as Michelle makes sure every student is celebrated. This is impressive with many different types of learners and styles in her classroom. But every student feels that they are a part of the learning experience and all feel included in every activity. But make no mistake, amidst all this hard work, Mrs. Evers insists on having fun and makes sure that her students do too. A colleague told me, quote, "When I walked into Michelle's classroom for the first time, she said, 'Welcome to a fun place.' And she's not kidding. Her students are always excited and willing to learn new things each day. She builds a classroom community by telling kids that we are a class that laughs often, forgives mistakes, and helps each other, etc. It is a mantra that they take to heart and they truly believe." Close quote. It is not unusual to walk into Michelle's classroom and find her singing about her favorite number, which a generation of GES students know is the number 10. It is also not unusual to walk in and find the furniture pushed up against the walls and students sitting in beach chairs with large beach umbrellas enjoying a day of reading at the beach. Beyond her creativity, Mrs. Evers is a true leader in the school building. She has served as a mentor to teachers, both officially and unofficially, and has served as our building's GEMS coordinator and facilitator of our building cabinet. She is the leader of her team and always has interesting and creative ideas to share. Her enthusiasm and positivity and energy is contagious and inspiring for all. Michelle Evers is an exemplary educator who embodies the qualities that we value at Guilderland Elementary, and she truly deserves this acknowledgement. Congratulations, Michelle.
Invite me on that Read at the Beach Day.
And I would now like to call up to the podium Principal of Westmere Elementary School, Dr. Beth Beanie.
Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to recognize two individuals at Westmere. And I'd like to start with first, Mrs. Ellen Mosier, second grade teacher at Westmere. Mrs. Mosier has worked in education for 32 years and is a positive, professional, and passionate classroom teacher. In her classroom, Mrs. Mosier makes every student feel like they are a special member in that classroom. She welcomes all learners to her class, including students with disabilities and students learning English as a new language. Students build their confidence by learning that it's okay to try new things and realizing that mistakes are okay. One of her strengths is helping students uncover their inner abilities through her amazing and encouraging words. "You're so smart. Are you kidding me? You're amazing." This class is brilliant. Mrs. Mosier makes even the most struggling math student feel like a mathematician. A student learning letter sounds feels like an amazing reader. And a child with a little bit of letter sound correspondence feels like a writer. Once a student with a severe learning disability yelled out in the class, "This is the best day ever!" all because of how he felt in Mrs. Mosier's classroom. She instills this confidence with every child, and because of that, they are comfortable taking risks and end up growing like a beanstalk. And in her class, they grow real bean plants every September. Just watch them grow. Her positive interactions with students allow them to develop respect and responsibility. As a visitor in the classroom, you will often hear students say, "Please, thank you. Would you like to go first? Here, you can use mine." Mrs. Mosier is a professional learner, always looking for ways to improve her teaching. When Promethean boards were introduced or other new tech systems, her very first words were, "We can do this." While her words were incredibly positive, her mind was thinking, "How are we going to do this?" But Mrs. Mosier finds a way. She is a learner with a positive mindset. She enjoys working with our literacy coach, and no matter how many years in the classroom, she's always open to new ideas. She works cooperatively with her grade level colleagues, participates at curriculum meetings and grade level meetings, and has served on numerous committees, including TALC, Building Cabinet, the literacy team, and even the data team. She is a learner and a contributor. It is an honor to work and recognize such a dedicated and positive educator. Congratulations, Mrs. Mosier. It is also my pleasure tonight to recognize Mrs. Colleen Pariseau, one of our food service workers in the Westmere kitchen. Miss Colleen, as she is known by students, works in the Westmere kitchen preparing breakfast and lunch for 540 students. She has been a Guilderland employee for 24 years. Her shift starts early as she prepares a breakfast buffet including hot choice, cereal, Danish, juice, and Pop-Tarts. After serving about 100 breakfasts, prepping for lunch begins. Cutting up the fresh fruits and vegetables, cooking the hot meal of the day, making 3 types of sandwiches, including peanut butter and jelly, bagging the bagel lunch, which includes a yogurt, cheese stick, straw, napkin, cream cheese, and knife. And these are just a few of her major daily tasks. But the real magic happens between the lunch block of 11 and 1 p.m. As 25 plus classes, or over 500 students, fill up the Westmere cafeteria, Miss Colleen makes it all happen. She serves over 200 student lunches while also cooking enough hot lunches for the last shift and washing the red cafeteria trays in between meals. There is no time to stand still. Not only does Miss Colleen serve the hot lunch listed on the menu, but she makes every combination possible. For example, like today, it was hot dogs with French fries. Miss Colleen will prepare trays that offer hot dog on a roll with French fries, hot dog no roll with French fries, hot dog no roll, no French fries, and so on and so forth. And then you add in the vegetables as well. But don't get me started. You should see it on the very popular taco salad day that comes with the taco meat, chips, cheese, lettuce, salsa, and cream cheese. Just imagine the combinations. I will add that nothing goes to waste with Miss Colleen. When there are extra hot dogs or pizza left over, they are added to the lunch the next day. No child leaves the cafeteria hungry. There is something for everyone. And you might ask yourself, why? Why does she do so much more than is needed? Why not just serve lunch the way it is listed on the menu? Because Miss Colleen gets kids. She knows no two are the same and everyone deserves a good meal. Some children may be picky eaters and having options helps them eat something. Nothing makes her happier to know that she has filled their bellies, helping them to work hard and try their best after lunch. In fact, there was a special 5th grader, we'll call him Michael, who adores Miss Colleen. Michael loved taco salad day. Well, he really just loved the taco meat. And Miss Colleen always made sure there was enough left for Michael, who came during the last lunch. He would often get 2 helpings of taco meat. But don't tell Renee that. Another thing about Michael is he would often have a quick temper and a short fuse. And the thing about Michael is if he got angry or upset, it was the cafeteria that helped turn him around. Something as simple as offering him a roll with butter, his next favorite food, would allow him time to process his feelings, see both sides, and eventually move forward in a positive way with the rest of his day. And Miss Colleen always had a roll with butter ready for Michael on the side. At the end of the year, you could hear Michael use his manners and say to Miss Colleen, please and thank you. It was a very special bond between these two. And this happens with many students. She knows one child loves corn and will give that child a double serving. Another growing boy might get an extra breadstick. They just love her food. Miss Colleen is the secret sauce in the Westmere cafeteria. She is so much more than someone who cooks, serves the meals, and washes the dishes. She never complains, never takes a day off, and is my honor to recognize Mrs. Colleen Pariseau in the Westmere kitchen, very deserving of the Employee Recognition Award. Congratulations. Next up to the podium, Mr. Mike Piscatelli from Guilderland High School.
Good evening, everyone. So in 2003, I was in my second year as the instructional administrator in math, science, and technology. And at that time, I was very focused on trying to hire science teachers with multiple certifications so that we had some flexibility in our scheduling. So that spring, I interviewed a woman named Alicia McTiernan, Alicia Hogan at that time. And I immediately loved her energy and enthusiasm. But she only had a chemistry certification. So I remember bringing her into my office and trying to convince her what a great idea it would be to get a second certification. Alicia was very upfront with me and explained that she had no interest in doing that because she loved teaching chemistry and only chemistry. So I made the decision to forget about the certifications, and what a great decision that turned out to be, because 21 years later, yes, 21 years, she is still that bundle of energy and enthusiasm, and she has inspired so many students. Alicia is first and foremost an amazing teacher who ignites the passion of students for science. This does not happen by chance. She puts a tremendous amount of effort making sure that her lessons are engaging and challenging. I always say to people that trying to observe Alicia McTiernan is a challenge. It's actually exhausting because I can't keep up with the pace that she goes. And she makes so many transitions that I have a hard time typing that fast. But Alicia is never satisfied with the status quo. She is constantly working to improve her craft. When the high school was exploring alternative grading strategies, she was the first person to volunteer. When the science department was looking for new electives, Alicia created a pharmaceutical science class, which has now become one of our most popular electives. But Alicia's biggest strength is her ability to connect and build relationships with students. The students lovingly refer to her as McT, and you frequently see students hanging out in her classroom just so they can talk to her. When you walk down the science wing, you can hear the excitement of her students, and you can hear that boisterous laugh coming from her doorway. She loves chemistry, but she loves students more, and that caring comes across in all of her interactions with the students of GHS. Alicia, you are so deserving of this recognition. Congratulations. It's now my pleasure to introduce our PPS director, Ms. Lisa Knowles.
Good evening. It is my privilege this evening to recognize an outstanding individual who has made a lasting impact on both our students and staff, Holly Coy. Serving as a teaching assistant, Holly has been an essential part of the special education department for over a decade. In the words of a colleague, quote, "She's professional, caring, and always on top of any situation," end quote. Over the years, Holly's steadfast dedication and commitment have deeply touched the lives of our learners and brought lasting benefits to the entire Guilderland High School community. What makes Holly truly exceptional is the trust and safety she creates for her students. They know, without question, that she is someone who has their best interests at heart. Whether they are facing academic challenges or personal difficulties, Holly is a person they turn to. Her ability to connect with students, meet them where they are, and provide the support they need is a rare and invaluable gift. It does not matter if Holly is supporting a student in a traditional classroom setting or as a job coach through our School to Work program. She fosters an environment where students feel seen, heard, and understood. As a teaching assistant, Holly ensures the personalized support students require so they can thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. Her dedication is not only felt by the students, but also by all of us who work alongside her. Holly's presence brings a sense of calm and confidence to any situation. She is always willing to lend a hand, provide guidance, or step in when needed. Her colleagues trust her insight and experience, knowing she always has the student's best interest in mind. We are reminded through her example of the immense value of educators who go above and beyond to make a lasting difference in the lives of young people. Holly is not only a teaching assistant, but a mentor, a confidant, and a role model for her students. Her commitment to their well-being is evident every day and is something that all of us, students and staff alike, are fortunate to witness and benefit from. Holly, your professionalism, compassion, and dedication are truly inspiring. You create a safe and nurturing space for our students, and for that, we are deeply grateful. Guilderland High School is incredibly lucky to have you, and today we celebrate you. And now I get to celebrate a very important colleague of mine who I could not survive any day without. It is my pleasure to recognize and celebrate the exceptional dedication and contributions of Kelly Dioldi, our instructional administrator for elementary and preschool special education. Over the past decade, Kelly has been a driving force of excellence, tirelessly supporting students, families, and staff across 5 elementary schools. Kelly's unwavering commitment spans nearly 10 years in the district, during which she has played a pivotal role in meeting the diverse needs of over 350 students with disabilities, their families, is a resource for special education teachers, their general education partners, paraprofessionals, and related service providers. Her proactive approach and deep passion for her work are evident in every aspect of her role. One of the most remarkable things about Kelly is her incredible accessibility and visibility across all 5 of the elementary schools. Despite the challenge of managing multiple locations, Kelly makes it a priority to be present, ensuring she stays connected to both students and staff. Her hands-on support, whether providing behavioral guidance to students or stepping in when a building principal needs coverage, shows her dedication to fostering a positive, inclusive, and supportive environment. When there's a need, Kelly is often the first to respond, always ready to lend a hand. Kelly is not only a leader, but also a problem solver. She's a trusted partner for teachers and staff, working collaboratively with teams to address student concerns and find solutions. Her insight is valued, and her open door policy ensures that her support is always just a phone call or text away. In addition to her hands-on support, Kelly has made a significant impact through professional development. She has led initiatives that have strengthened the skills of her staff, from workshops on culturally responsive teaching to integrated co-teaching practices. Her ability to offer constructive feedback and lead challenging conversations while maintaining strong relationships is a testament to her leadership. Kelly's influence extends beyond her immediate responsibilities. She's an active contributor to the Language Arts Cabinet, offering her expertise and leading discussions on improving reading instruction. Her dedication to collaboration, professional growth, and continuous improvement has left an indelible mark on the entire school community. It is not often that those in special education administration are publicly honored, but Kelly's tireless advocacy for equity and inclusion profoundly impact the lives of so many. She works behind the scenes, yet the results of her efforts are seen and felt every day. Kelly, I admire your dedication and heart for this work. It is an honor to recognize you today. Thank you for all that you do. I'm blessed to be your colleague and friend. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. I almost made it. And I'll reintroduce Dr. Wiles. You're next.
Good evening once again. It is my distinct honor to recognize Dr. Alan Lockwood. Dr. Alan Lockwood has been an employee in Guilderland for more than 25 years, first as an elementary teacher, and for the last 16 plus years as the principal of Guilderland Elementary School. He is most deserving of the Employee Recognition Award. First and foremost, Alan is an awesome principal. He is deeply committed to the students at GES, and this is completely obvious just watching him work. He is attentive and empathetic listener when he sees students struggling, and an enthusiastic cheerleader when he sees a student learn a new word or solve a tricky math problem. Students greet him with warm hellos and hugs because they know he cares about them. I've seen this with my own eyes. Like when he joins in a kindergarten class to do the Atootie Ta song, just saw that, or when he breaks out his guitar to lead the whole school in a rousing rendition of the Guilderland School song. This is a highlight of every first day of school. Alan is also a strong and loyal advocate for the faculty and staff at GES. He is the first to acknowledge and celebrate their excellent work on behalf of students. He willingly goes to bat for his school community to make sure everyone has what they need to do their work and be successful. It is very hard to say no to Dr. Lockwood when he asks for something because we know he's done his homework and the need is real. Alan can also be counted on to contribute to the success of the entire district. He's done this in many, many ways. He has served on multiple district-wide committees, including the district-wide safety committee, and most recently, he co-chaired the elementary programs subcommittee of the Future Ready Task Force. He is a formal and informal mentor to new and aspiring leaders in the district. He is generous with his time and willingly shares his insight and perspective based on many years of experience. I am not alone in viewing Alan as a dependable and wise go-to person. Finally, Alan is exceptional in a crisis. He remains calm, clear-headed, and a source of strength for everyone around him. This aspect of his leadership was never more apparent than when he led his building through the shocking and tragic murder of 2 of our GES students and their parents back in 2014. Despite what was surely his own heartbreak, he guided that school community through a difficult time with a steady hand and unparalleled compassion. He was and is remarkable. In the best of times, and when times are tough, and everything in between, Dr. Alan Lockwood is an exceptional leader and an invaluable asset to our district. It is an honor and a privilege to work with him. Please help me congratulate Dr. Alan Lockwood for his well-deserved recognition. And last but certainly not least, to give our final award, Dr. Alex Fincel.
There is no amount of time or words that can adequately capture this individual. He is a man of reputation and a force for good, a rising tide that lifts all, students and colleagues alike. However, I thought it would be just to recognize this person in a way that is all too familiar to who he is to us. Remember, imitation is the highest form of flattery. And I heard, as it were, the noise of struggle. One of our students sang, "Can you help me?" And I saw, and behold, a rock star. There's a man going round taking names, and he decides who to help and who will gain. Everybody will be treated all the same. There'll be a golden apple handed down when Okama comes around. The grades and attitudes will go up at the effort to help each and every catch up. Will you partake to help them shape up, or turn away from futures to be found? when Okama comes around. Hear his guitar, hear him strumming. Hearts are mending, minds are stretching. Multitudes are learning in Gilderland. Teachers calling, parents crying. Most succeed despite their trying. It's all to help students overcome. And the whirlwind is in the reading room. The students are all choosing their books. The whirlwind is in PM school. It's hard for them to fail with this support. Till graduation, no retreat, no defeat. Then a voice will call his students to leave their seat. The students will take the stage for them to meet. And with a smile, graduation will be complete. When Okama comes around, whoever is caring, let him be caring still. Whoever is persistent, let him be persistent still. Whoever is skillful, let him be skillful still. Witness the sea of red and white caps and gowns. When Okama comes around, hear his guitar, hear him strumming. Thoughts are shaping, futures brightening. Multitudes are winning in Gilderland. Teachers calling, parents crying. Most succeed despite their trying. It's all to help students overcome. And the whirlwind is in the reading room. The students are all checking their work. The whirlwind is in PM school. It's time for them to shine against the grind. In overwhelming success that knows no bound. When Okama comes around. And I heard a voice in the midst of GHS, and I looked, and behold, through much largesse, and working with a student was Okama, and success followed with them. John, come on down, brother. So I just want to quickly say thank you to my partner in rhyme, Dan Fingers McBride, with the guitar. Could not have happened without him. And the single will be available on GHS Media later. Now I'd like to reintroduce back to the podium Mr. Regan Johnson.
I want to say two things. Number one, all of our winners tonight get to take home a mum. So make sure you do that before you leave. And the second is I'd like to introduce the president of our Board of Education, Blanca Gonzalez-Parker, to close us up.
I also have to lower this. So that was a tough act to follow, but I would just like to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and I would like to thank the families that support our wonderful staff. And also, I would like to take the time to thank the folks who took the time to nominate their fellow coworkers. We have a program like that where I work, and it is difficult to get people to nominate others. So that speaks to our sense of community. So also, we do our best as the Board of Education to show everyone that we support them, but it's wonderful when we all come together to support our faculty and staff. So thank you and congratulations. I think we should take a 3-minute intermission right now. Great. Oh, also, you don't have to stay for the meeting. If you would prefer to leave, that is fine. You're welcome to do so, but most folks do leave right now. So. Thank you. Welcome back. So first order of business is Board President action. And so we will begin with the appointment of our new Board of Education member, Meredith Briere. It is hereby resolved that the Board of Education of the Guilderland Central School District hereby appoints Meredith Briere effective October 1st, 2024, to fill the vacancy on the board created by the resignation of Judy Slack. Said appointment to be until the next regular school district election or as otherwise may be required by law. Said appointment shall commence immediately upon the appointed individual filing an oath of office with the district clerk. Okay, so you, Meredith, if you would like your family to join you, we'd like to ask you to read the board member oath of office aloud and then sign the document. We'd like to welcome up Meredith's family if you'd like to be up here with her. Sure.
So need a motion.
Oh,
for the board.
so we need a motion to accept.
To vote. on
To
this.
vote. Okay. So Katie, second, Nina. Okay, and any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Welcome.
Okay.
So I think you can say the oath.
So I, Meredith Briere, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member according to the best of my ability.
All right. Congratulations. Welcome. Okay, and I don't think our high school student reps are here tonight. Okay. And then we have public comment. Are there any public comments? Okay. So then we will move on to the independent audit report.
Good evening, everyone. So you all have a copy of the audited financial statements. So you are required each year to have an external audit done to be submitted to the New York State Education Department and to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. So this is the audited financial statements. We went over these in more detail with the audit committee, so I'll just do a brief overview. On page 1 is the first of 4 audit reports. This is the audit report on the financial statements. It does say that the financial statements present fairly. That is what is officially known as an unmodified opinion, so that is a clean audit opinion. That is the highest that you can receive. Page 4 starts the management's discussion and analysis. So that is more of a narrative summary of the financial statements. If you don't wish to read the entire 75-page document, that is a more brief summary and also provides some more background. Page 14 is the first of the actual statements. Page 14 is your statement of net position. This is considered a government-wide statement, so it includes all assets and liabilities of the district. You will see about a quarter of the way down the page, total assets at the end of the year were just over $171 million. The largest portion of that is your capital assets net of depreciation of $135 million. So that would be the land, buildings, and equipment of the district, as well as construction and process. And the cost of those are recognized over the estimated useful lives of the assets. As far as liabilities, you will see total liabilities of $318.6 million. A couple items to note here. There are bond anticipation notes payable of about $29.5 million. That is the short-term capital project financing. There are bonds payable, which are actually split between 2 different lines on this statement. There is a line for the principal due in the current year, and then there is a separate line for the principal due after that. The largest of your liabilities, though, is the other post-employment benefits liability of about $223 million. All school districts are required to have an actuary determine the value to provide retirees with health insurance, and you are required to record a liability for the actuary's estimate of this future cost. New York State, however, does not allow you to set aside any money for this future liability. Each year, you budget only for the current year's health insurance bills, but you are required to record this liability for all of the future costs. This leads to a deficit net position at the bottom of the page because you have a large liability, but you have no offsetting assets. And this is the same for all of the other districts as well. If you flip over to page 16, this is the first of your fund-based statements. So this is more how you are used to seeing the financial statements of the district throughout the year. So you have the various funds. Just briefly, the CM Miscellaneous Special Revenue Fund includes your extra classroom activity and your scholarships. The Capital Fund is your capital project activity. The Debt Service Fund is money held to pay long-term debt. The School Lunch Fund is all of your cafeteria activity. The Special Aid Fund is your grants. And then the General Fund is anything that does not fall into one of those other specific funds that I mentioned. And you will see at the bottom of this page, there is a section for restricted fund balance. So those are the various reserves that the district has set up. These are items that New York State allows you to set aside money for future needs. And there are specific descriptions that the state has set as far as how those funds can be how those reserves can be funded and how they can be spent. And there is a footnote regarding all of that information. If you flip to the next page, excuse me. The next page shows the differences between your long-term items on your government-wide statement of net position and your fund balance sheet. So your fund balance sheet does not include the long-term items like the capital assets and that other post-employment benefits liability that I mentioned. Page 18 is your fund-based revenues and expenses. Just a few items to note here. You will see in the capital column there was capital outlay expenses of $11.496 million. So that was the capital project work that was completed during the year. And then a little bit further down in that capital column, you will see proceeds from debt of $24,167,000. That was the new bonds and new leases that were issued during the year. A couple other items to note. The Special Aid Fund, you will see, has zero fund balance at the end of the year. That is because that is the grant activity. You spend the grant money and then you get reimbursed. So your revenues and expenses match and you don't have any fund balance. And then one item to note, as far as the general fund, you will see in the proceeds of debt line for the general fund, you had just over $6.5 million of proceeds from debt. Those were the tax certiorari bonds that were issued during the year. The third line up from the bottom of the page, in the general fund, you will see your excess of revenues and other sources over expenditures and uses was about $7.1 million. But if you exclude the tax certiorari bonds, your revenue exceeded your expenses by about $600,000. Page 20 starts the notes to the financial statements. There's a brief description of the district, and then there's descriptions of the various accounting policies, and there's more information about some of the numbers within the financial statements. I'll just mention a few. On page 22, page 22 has brief descriptions of each of the funds that I mentioned as far as what activities is accounted for within each fund. Page 33 through 35 has the descriptions of the reserve funds. So it details out the New York State regulations regarding how those reserves can be set up, how you can spend from them, and things like that. Page 40, thank you. Page 40 has the detail of your capital assets. So that shows your capital assets activity for the year. One thing to note here, you will see the construction in process did have a retirement reclassification of about $30.77 million. So you had completed projects and moved them out of construction in process, they're no longer in process, and moved them into buildings and improvements this year. If you move on to page 42, note 8 gives more information regarding your long-term debt. The top schedule shows the activity for the year, and then the bottom schedule has information regarding each of the bonds that you currently have outstanding. And then a couple of supplementary schedules to mention. Page 50 is the first of the supplementary schedules. So pages 50 and 51 are the budget to actual comparison for your general fund. Page 50 shows your revenues, budget to actual. And you will see the use of money in property line had a very large positive compared to what you had budgeted. Due to the fact that interest rates went up so much, you were able to take advantage of that and earn some more interest. So that was the cause of that variance between your budget and your actual amounts. On the next page, page 51 has the expenditure variances, budget to actual. You will see total expenditures and other uses. You were under budget by about $2.8 million. So you were able to stay very close to your budget. And then page 55 has two schedules. The bottom schedule is a Section 1318 real property tax law limit calculation. So New York State law says you are not allowed to have more than 4% of next year's budget in unassigned fund balance. And you will see that as of year end, you were at exactly 4%, so you were fine there. And then the last supplemental schedule to mention is on page 56. This is the capital project supplemental schedule. So it does detail out all of the capital projects that you currently have ongoing. And just to note, this schedule does include activity from the beginning of each of those projects rather than just for the one fiscal year like everything else has been for these financials. The next section of the audit is our single audit. Because the district spent more than $750,000 of federal grant money, we perform a single audit, and you receive two different audit reports for that. The first is on page 59. So page 59 is our report on internal control and compliance with government auditing standards. This is another clean audit opinion. We saw no issues as far as the internal control or compliance. The second of the reports is on page 61. This report is specifically for the major programs. So each year we are required to test one or more federal grants. This year we tested the Education Stabilization Funds and the Child Nutrition Funds. And this is also another clean audit opinion. We found no issues of noncompliance or internal control issues for those two grant programs. Page 64 details out all of your federal grant spending for the year. So in total, you spent just under $6 million of federal grant spending in 2023-2024. But I will note, about a third of the way down the page, there is a whole section of that COVID-19 Education Stabilization Fund money, about $3.5 million that was spent, and those grants have now ended as of yesterday. So that will be decreasing vastly compared to for next year coming up. The last section of the audit is the extra classroom activity funds. So these are the student club funds. The district has fiscal oversight over those funds. So the last of the audit reports is on page 68, and this is a qualified opinion. This is the same as last year and the same for all of our districts. We can't prove that all money raised is submitted to the central treasurer, so you do receive a qualified opinion in this case. Page 70 shows the total amount of those funds held as of year end. You were just over $273,000. And then pages 71 and 72 show the activity by club for the year. I know that was just a brief overview, but if anyone has any questions.
Okay. Thank you. So I think, is this a roll call, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, so first we need a motion to accept the independent audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024. Kelly, second Katie. Questions or comments, which I already asked, but no? Okay, and then roll call, right?
Okay, ready? Mrs. Blasiak?
Yes.
Mrs. DePiero?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez-Parker?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaplan?
Here.
Mrs. Malloy-Graffi?
Yes.
And Mrs. Person?
Yes.
Mrs. Briere?
Yes.
And Mrs. Tallhill?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we have the consent items.
Perhaps before we do that, we recognize our business office for
Yes.
yet another really outstanding year of a clean audit. It's a lot of work, a lot of attention to detail. So thank you to John, the whole team, to Andrew. Thank you to our auditors and our audit committee. This is not a small feat to have a perfectly clean audit. So congratulations and thank you to everyone who worked so hard.
Just add, other than John and Linda, we turned over almost the entire business office. We're still able to do this, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and so now we're going to, I would need a motion to accept the consent agenda items. That includes the minutes, et cetera. Okay, so Tara?
Yep, I'll make a motion.
And second, Gloria? Meredith, I forgot, I can call on you next time, I promise. I'm here. Sorry. You are here now. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 9-0. 8-0. Whoops. 8-0. Okay. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get back up to the agenda, and I have to travel through the audit. Is it your turn now, Marie?
It is Rachel's
No, it's my
turn.
turn.
Rachel's turn.
Rachel,
Thank you,
sorry.
Rachel.
No problem. Good evening, everyone. I have on the agenda for you the draft of our 24-25 professional learning plan, which is put together by our professional learning cabinet, which has representation from all buildings and from all units. So you can take some time to look that over. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and we'll be bringing it back for your approval at the next meeting.
And now school business information, Andrew.
Thank you. I have one item to share, which is the timetable for staff involvement, board consideration, and public information and vote for the 2025-2026 school budget. We are starting the process now. We have scheduled meetings with principals and administrators, other administrators and supervisors to review the current year budget, talk about needs for next year's budget. Tomorrow is Beds Day, which will give us our enrollment figures to make our enrollment projections for the following year. October 22nd, we'll have public input for budget development. Going forward, we will have community engagement throughout January and February, all leading up to March 4th when we present the superintendent's draft budget to the Board of Education and the community, followed the next week by a workshop Q&A on the budget. We will go through, and on April 8th, the board will take action to adopt the budget. We will communicate to the community, and finally, the budget vote will be on May 20th.
Thank you. Superintendent information?
I just have one item this evening. October is National Principals Month. So from the National Association of Secondary School Principals and the National Association of Elementary School Principals and the American Federation of School Administrators, we recognize that every day our principals inspire teachers, staff, and students to strive for their best. They navigate challenges with grace and create environments where students can thrive. This month, we'd like everyone to join us in recognizing and thanking our remarkable leaders. And we would like to recognize and thank our building principals, our assistant principals, and our house principals for their passion and tireless dedication to our students, faculty, staff, and families. An often unsung group, but they do an amazing job here in Guilderland. We're very proud of our team.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And thank you to our principals. Okay, and now we have the board president information. So a survey of the proposed resolutions was shared with each board member to complete for use by the Board of Education voting delegate at the NYSSBA convention. That's you, Kim, right?
Yep.
Okay. The results will be shared with the voting delegate, board member Kim Blazak, who will attend a NYSSBA's annual meeting. And Gloria, you're the alternate, which will take place virtually this year on October 10th.
Right, I won't be.
Okay. And you have copies of the resolutions here. And bear with me, there's a lot of items here. Okay, and then we have the NYSEC conference disconnected. Okay, so New York State United Teachers held a conference on Friday, September 20th. Members of the Board of Education who attended the disconnected conference will share information from that conference. And so it was Nina and Tara and Katie. No?
Nina and Tara.
Nina and Tara. Okay, great. Would you like to let us know how it went?
I thought it was great. It kind of pushed me over the line because I know like in August I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do like a band.
I don't say ban, I hate saying that, like just not having them in the classroom. And then there was a teacher who was speaking, and for 8 years, he always collected the cell phones from his students. And what he did is he wanted to teach them that there's a time and a place for the phones, but the time and the place is not while I'm trying to teach you. And he noticed that kids were talking to each other more. The Bethlehem superintendent and the president of the teachers union said that, they hear kids talking to each other in the hall now because they're not on their phones. They're able to engage. The lunchroom, like there's just a lot of, like talking to each other that we just got away from. So I'm kind of, I don't know what the governor's going to do, but I definitely do see the positives of not having cell phones in the classroom.
Was it a one-day conference?
Yeah, it was one day. There were 500 people there, so it really was a huge showing of support, and they had many panels talk about different areas, including the psychological aspect of how there's an addiction that's involved, document addiction for the children, and the developmental aspect of how the phones pretty much hijack how that development happens. And then from the admin perspective, as Tara talked about with Bethlehem School District and other school districts that have tried to implement this programming and how it's affected, you can see actual tangible changes and shifts in the demeanor of the students as well as the overall building. And that by having it, and I brought the little pouch with me, by having the pouch, they lock them away with this. But the students carry them around with them so they don't feel a loss of their phone. It's not taken from them, and they're responsible. It's like a loaner, like a Chromebook idea. And the students, there is a transition period, but after that period, it's a predicted outcome pretty much that they'll see the shift and the improvement. Even in the scenarios where people have raised concerns, it's held true that it's better to not have the phones, like in the emergency situation or things like that misinformation is more of a problem than, how should I say, than having it to communicate to an unsafe level. And also I want to say that, yes, the NYSUT president, Linda Person, was phenomenal, and also Governor Hochul was on board, and other stakeholders that were pretty instrumental in possibly implementing this. This support is there, the science is there, and we even heard some tragic stories that I don't think there was a dry eye at that point in the room.
Terrible.
So to me, from what I've heard, and just to say one more point, and then I'll run, but to the situations where teachers have the pockets in their room, those are effective, but not in the bigger picture, because what happens is the students are still very hyper-focused on getting their phone, that they don't have, it doesn't turn off. So even if you're in the room with me and my phone is in the pocket by the door, I'm still thinking about checking my Snapchat, and I'm still thinking about checking my updates, and if cyberbullying is happening, it's still at the forefront of my brain, where if it's tucked away and it's not allowed, it allows for the educational process to actually happen.
And another thing, I can't remember who said it, but like just passing in the hallway, like for the teacher said, okay, put it in this box and then you can take it when you leave. The problem is not a problem, but another issue is that when you're walking in the hallway, you have your device on and you're not engaging in the people around you. So you're still kind of like shutting off from what's happening around you, and just the importance of just engaging when you go from class to class. So I thought that really struck me. That I can't remember where he taught, but that really kind of made an impact on me. Oh, and there was another teacher saying that there was a commotion in the hall, and he's like, so he goes out in the hall, he sees what's going on, and there were kids laughing and joking with each other, and they hadn't heard it in so long, they thought that they were fooling around and something was wrong. So that's like, he goes, I felt really stupid when I went out, and I just saw it was just kids being kids, and I hadn't heard that. So, I don't know, I thought it was a really great conference, and I know it's something that we're going to be discussing a lot this year.
May I ask, Was there any commentary about teachers also having to, lock up their cell phones? Did any
No.
school districts decide not to do that?
No, because the teachers are the adults in the room, so they have their phones, yeah.
Oh, so they do have their.
Yeah, they have their
Okay.
phones, they don't lock them
I
away,
think
no.
the way that I understood it, sorry, Tom, I think that it becomes something that they want them to be like a modeling thing, but not a
Right.
mandatory thing.
Right.
The idea being that obviously as professionals, or as adults, that we have certain privileges that younger people don't have. However, the school of thought that teachers are the models for their students, I could put in here, but there's options. There's even a Velcro one, which is also good for children who maybe cannot access or need it for other purposes at a more immediate situation.
right,
So there
yeah.
are some alternatives they can do for teachers that would allow the teacher to use it if they need it, but to still model as they would, but not as a mandate for teachers to the same level that it would be in place for students. So there's ways you can do it that would still be effective for kids without it being a full teacher implemented
'Cause
regulation.
I used my iPhone to put music on in my classroom. So, and I also used it sometimes with my ENL students if I was trying to explain a word, and I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Giphy. It's not a GIF, it's a special app. So I could just type in the word and they could see the word in action, like shrug, like a simple thing like shrug. I could just put it up on my app and I would show the student. They're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, that's it. So, I mean, there are reasons for teachers to be able to access their phones. And another thing was like, if anyone with like a medical emergency or medical care, they would be able to access their phone, obviously, so they can just be able to get to the nurse or whatever and check, I know diabetes, they can check their blood sugar now, and this the really cool app. So those were the exceptions of, that some districts, not all districts, that they have exceptions, is usually a medical exception.
It's good to know. Thank you for sharing. Is Bethlehem a total ban including teachers?
I thought they were. I could be wrong about that. I thought Schoharie also banned them for teachers, but I could be wrong about that.
They didn't mention that.
Yeah.
They spoke, right? The Bethlehem.
They did, yeah, but they didn't say teachers couldn't have their phones.
I think it's the modeled way. I think maybe, like I said, there's a Velcro way so you can show it, but as needed. That's my understanding, but I'm not 100%.
We did a conference call with the company that makes those, and they talked about the Velcro versions for them. So maybe that's what they used in Bethlehem. I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I have one. What would you like to happen next?
Who would I like?
I mean, as a board.
The board, yeah.
Didn't we talk about reaching out to the community, like not a thought exchange, I don't know, like maybe a thought exchange? I'm not sure.
Well, when we had the call with Yonder, they have done this in about, 700 schools or more. Their recommendation is to host some kind of an informational session for the community so that they can hear kind of what you heard at the conference before you start asking people what they think. Because then you get an informed opinion as opposed to just where you may have happened to gather your information. So, we could think about doing, I would think, just because people don't necessarily come to things, we could do maybe some online information session that could be recorded, people could watch it. We could do something with Thought Exchange, either a Thought Exchange itself or a survey. We've actually got our colleagues over at Thought Exchange sort of putting that together for us. Part of this is the timing, and whether or not, if the district were going to go down that road, if we would want to do it without pouches or with the pouches. We priced it out, and Andrew, you might have to correct me, but I think to do this 6/12 with all the unlocking stations, it was about $110,000, give or take.
That sounds right.
Which we haven't budgeted for in the current year. So
So that's for the locks and the pouches?
It's for the whole.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Everything
Okay.
we would need to implement was about $110,000.
Just to say, so Bethlehem went 912 instead of, which we can, just to mention that, and obviously 612 would be another great option, but, and just to say one more point, that they did bring in students, and the students also talked about how they felt about it and how it made them feel better. And I think having that kind of a way to reach out to the community by Yonder would be helpful, because they would address issues like the safety concerns. And Bethlehem was able to offer their own experience from the week where they had the situation in Bethlehem, and how having the phones that the students did have the phones because it was after school, and it did cause other problems that they had their phones on them. So how that is not necessarily, that's what a lot of parents I think are concerned about, and I feel like they would address and possibly assuage some of those concerns that way.
So to answer your question, an information night sounds great. Would it be, how are you envisioning this?
I haven't envisioned
we're
much more.
here. I would like to see if the board can be present during the information night.
Well, I was envisioning, if you can recall back to the days of, I hate to even say it, but the pandemic days, when we were required to do 2 or 3 information sessions for the community on how we were going to open school.
Yeah.
So we did 2 evenings, maybe 3, where we had a panel. And so people could watch. And I'm trying to recall, I've blanked vast portions of my life on this, but I think people could send in questions ahead of time, and we kind of grouped them into categories. And I think we had everyone present a little bit, and then I think I moderated, we got these questions from our community about safety and security and medical issues and, all those things that we've been talking about. I would envision on the panel colleagues from neighboring schools who have done this, representatives from Guilderland Police Department to address the safety and security issues. And actually, I would look to see, well, who else spoke at the NYSET conference, and are there people who could help? I mean, my colleagues who have done this have already said, of course, will help, but I think we need, more of the expert piece. Yonder representative, also, the young man is named Andrew, so I keep remembering it. He would be willing to help. So it would just take a little bit of time to plan that and, get it organized.
I'm wondering if would there be an opportunity for kids to network, like our kids network with kids from the schools that have done it and exchange thoughts and ideas?
That's a good idea.
Providing that opportunity might be very helpful to them.
Well, Mr. Piscatelli does his student forums, and I don't want to volunteer him for anything, but perhaps when he does one of those, we could set up a Google Meet and have students from another school district join us and say, this is what we experienced. Because I'm guessing we're going to have students who are not loving this idea.
Right.
Sure.
And some
Guessing.
parents. Sure.
Yeah, and parents as well.
And at middle school, they can use their in-house TV.
Right.
And not only questions from the community, but an opportunity for teachers at the secondary level to provide questions that they would like to ask for that evening would be great also.
So I have also not fully made up my mind yet. I haven't formed a full opinion. I feel like I just have some questions still, some concerns with our older students. There's this balance of, in the real world, there are cell phones, so do they need to learn to use them responsibly, etc. So I would also find these sessions valuable. I've definitely seen the research that's out there, and it pretty much all indicates that a ban is the way to go. But then I would also appreciate the opportunity to hear from the community and the students. So I think your idea sounds great. The next step would be the information session, and then probably what is it called?
Well, one way to think about it is this will be a budget item. So if it is possible from the Yonder perspective to implement mid-year. They have had schools who have implemented mid-year. We haven't planned for $100,000+ expense mid-year. So we could weave this into the regular budget development process. So the board would ultimately make a decision, are we doing this using those pouches when it adopts the budget in April? And that would give us, I mean, from just a logistical perspective, that would give us time to put together a good program, gather input, do the thought exchange, look at the results, et cetera, and then it can play out in the budget development process. So that's one way. Or not. I mean, you could decide we're not going to do that.
I think early on you had said the thought exchange would probably not be for students.
I probably wouldn't use that for students, but there's other ways of gathering input from
But I
them.
just want to make sure they have a voice.
I would just do something different. It doesn't work that well with students.
Could it be like a Google form or something?
Google form, or we could maybe do something in homerooms. So I just work with the high school and middle school to think about how best to get that input.
Great, thank you.
I like that idea.
I have a
And
question.
you could certainly include the questions from the board, in that. So it doesn't have to be just community, so it could be all-inclusive. I think that's a great way to go.
Great.
I would like to know what exceptions were and how they were outlined and highlighted, and why one student would maybe get an exception over another, because I think that the issue of fairness comes into that. And
I think it was medical, like that's what they're saying, was a medical concern, like if diabetes or I don't know.
who decides what?
The nurse, they have to go to the nurse, they have to have a doctor's note, obviously. If it's a student who's always going to the nurse for, when their sugar's low.
It would be an accommodation.
Yeah.
And just to
yeah.
say, they did have the pouch, but they had the Velcro. So
For
theirs
the medically,
could still be
yeah, it would still
accessed
be in a pouch.
as needed.
Yeah.
And the pouches don't block Wi-Fi, or the students have to turn them off first. So maybe
Yeah.
in those scenarios, they might be able to access it more immediately if needed. Maybe it will be, you can hear through the pouch. That's why the students were asked to turn them off.
So like if they have diabetes and
Yes,
their
and-
insulin is being monitored
Yeah,
by their
yeah.
smart device.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll work on putting something together.
Yeah, definitely.
For the fall.
Yeah.
Well, and I can reach out to
soon.
Schoharie, because I know the president there, and ask her if the teachers keep their phones or not.
Okay. Great.
Great, thank you. So now we're on to Board of Education Policy Review. The following policies are presented for information and discussion. These documents were discussed at a recent Board of Education Policy Review Committee meeting and are being presented for a first read this evening. Recommended edits, if any, are highlighted. So you have 0100, 0110, 0110.2. And we have a new policy committee. We have Rebecca, who is now chair, Nina, Katie, and Kim. Okay, I think that's it. And so now we are moving on to Andrew.
Yes, I have several items for your consideration tonight. The first is a continuation of 3 agreements for the provision of programs and services for students with disabilities or students whose needs are best met through alternative education programs.
Okay, motion to accept the provision service agreements. Okay, Meredith. And then second, Gloria. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is an agreement with SMG, site manager for the MVP, formerly Times Union Arena, for the graduation ceremony on June 27th.
June 27th. I just wanted to repeat that again. Okay. Motion to accept the agreement. Kim and then Nina. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item are a number of flow-through fund agreements for federal IDEA funds. We have to have agreements for the provision of funds flowing through the school district to approved preschool or school-age vendors providing special education programs for our students.
Okay, motion. Can I get a motion? Okay. Nina and then Tara. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is a college and the high school agreement with SUNY Schenectady for college-level courses for our high school students for the 24-25 school year.
Okay, can I get a motion? Kelly, second Katie. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item are two corrections to the 24-25 tax roll. One for a property that building was demolished and should have had the assessment changed, and one that failed to receive an exemption that it should have been awarded.
Can I get a motion to accept, to correct the tax roll? Kelly and then second Meredith. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is the renewal of a transportation contract with Raja Group for transporting students out of district.
Can I get a motion to renew with Raja? Okay, we've got Tara, second Kelly. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My final item are 4 donations. First, a computer chair, desk, and office items from Carol Connolly. Second, a golden doodle puppy for the facilities dog program at Altamont Elementary from Megan Bukowski. Third, children's Halloween costumes at Altamont Elementary from Heather Manikas. And finally, a viola from Brian Cady.
Okay, can I get a motion, please? Meredith, second Katie. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0. Thank you very much for those donations.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to board committee reports. We'll start with audit. 1 second. I was emailed by our very responsible board member, Rebecca Butterfield, because she could not be with us today. Audit committee met on 9/24. We reviewed the draft external audit that was presented by West and Company that we saw tonight. We also reviewed the special area audit from last year involving Medicaid changes, specifically looking at the corrective action areas that the audit proposed. One area involved incomplete scripts from prescribers for PT and OT. Going forward, the PPS director and OCM BOCES will review all written orders and referrals for accuracy. Another area involves session note completion and including a billable CPT code on the session notes. More education to providers is being disseminated, and a new software partnership with BOCES has improved this. Finally, there is Medicaid compliance policy from 2015 that needs revision, as it includes a third-party vendor that we no longer use, so we'll work with the policy committee to get that revised. Finally, we approve the claims audits for July and August. Next meeting is not scheduled at this time. Okay. Any questions or anything? Okay. Business practices?
Yep. So we met yesterday, and we reviewed the impact of the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker tax exemption. The final projection for a property assessed at $250,000 was $4 annual impact, but the actual annual impact was $3. And last year, the Business Practices Committee reviewed an updated low-income senior property exemption authorized by the 2023-2024 enacted state budget. So it raised the eligible income as well as the size of the exemption. Guilderland School District's current low-income senior exemption has a sliding scale from under $29,000 up to $37,400. But with the 23-24 enacted budget authorizes extending this range from $50,000 to $58,400. So the annual tax impact would likely be measured in like tens of dollars rather than single dollars, like with the firefighter exemption for a property assessed at $250,000. So the committee asked for additional research into the exemption, and Andrew will present at a future committee meeting. And then if the committee wishes to pursue the exemption, we're going to bring it to the full board.
Great. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And communications?
We have our first meeting scheduled for October 8th, and now we have the timetable for the budget, so we can get to work. Thank you.
Okay, DEI?
I can jump
I
in
was
here.
there, but I didn't.
Well, we
Who's
just,
supposed to give the?
I don't know, who's supposed to?
I don't know that we
I don't think
selected
we
a recorder.
decided. No.
I have
I'd
the
like to
notes
nominate
in
Marie.
front of me. If
That
you
would
want
be
me to jump in.
fabulous. Thank you.
Would that be good? Okay. We had our organizational meeting of the DEI committee on the 25th of September. We did a lot of committee selection kind of work. Our subcommittees were formed. We have 4 subcommittees: communications, community engagement, research, and student voice. We had a conversation about scheduling 3 of those 4, all the ones that don't involve students, on the 2-week interval between our regular meetings at 7 o'clock, so that we have kind of a set time for all the committee meetings, because we struggled in the past to get those meetings in. So we did that. We have our steering committee put together. That's the small group that plans each of the meetings. We heard from Derek Westbrook and from Leah Werther about some of the work they're doing out and about in our buildings since the school year started. Presented a 30,000-foot overview of the culture and climate survey results from our families. And then the last thing we did was our learning component was a discussion of a video called The Power of Words by Mohammed Khatani, which led to a very good discussion. Definitely. So we're off and running.
Yeah.
Weren't we gonna do an oversight for the whole board of the, what did you call it? The overview of the survey that went out for the equity survey?
We can, we just,
Still working through it.
well, we've got it all ready to go. It's just,
Okay.
it's time.
We need
Okay.
time.
Which is interesting.
But yeah, I think we would all like to
Oh,
see
yeah.
that.
I don't know if
It's
it
a
needs to, does it
huge-
need to be in like a public scene? Can you send us a snapshot or like
Well,
a?
snapshot would
Hard
be a
to-
real challenge. So we have our equity team is working on the staff results by building. They're also going to take up the student results now because we can disaggregate it by the filters. And the DEI group is going to take up the parent piece. So we do have an overview of all of the data. It's about 100 slides.
Wow.
And it's going to get a little bit longer, I think. So we can think about how best to capture it. Let me give that some thought. We can do it
Just
this
listen to
fall.
the DEI committee meeting that was recorded probably too. Get-
Well, that's just going to give you a
Yeah,
little.
we
Yeah.
just said a little bit of it.
Okay.
and
I mean, there's a
some-
ton
Yeah.
of data.
Wow.
It's a lot to wade through.
Okay.
But we can think about maybe at a upcoming, we've got a lot of things going on in October with Future Ready Task Force and such. So maybe in November, we can do an overview of the DEI data.
That's interesting stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. Thanks.
Back to the video that we saw during DEI, I thought that was just a really great video. I think we had discussed maybe having the students see it or finding a way for students to be able to view it.
So the video was one we used at our leadership retreat this summer, and it's about the power of words. And Mohammed Khatani is a Toastmaster International Award winner, so very, very good public speaker. I know Mike Piscatelli shared it with the entire high school team. So it's just a matter of how and when to do it. It could be a homeroom activity for the high school kids. It's only 7 minutes long, but
I thought that'd be a great homeroom activity.
it does inspire a lot of conversation, so I will talk with Mike about that.
Great, thanks. I think it really relates to our anti-bullying efforts.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, and then the next committee is policy, and Rebecca is also chair of that committee. And we met on 9/24, reviewed the 3 policies on the agenda that you have for review tonight, and the biggest change was adopting the NYSBA recommendation to split the sexual harassment policy from one policy that currently exists into one for employees and one for students. So, okay. Any other public comments, Linda, or any at all? No, okay. All right, any board issues, ideas, and sharing?
The beginning of the school year assembly at the high school for against bullying seemed to have been a hit, especially because our principal, Mr. Piscatelli, had let the BMX bike riders flip over him And so that was a big highlight that we've been hearing about. So,
Has everyone seen the video?
I saw the video.
No. Oh, no? Well, I have it. I'll show it after the meeting. It's very, very impressive. Very impressive. Great. Anything else? Okay. I think a lot of our students really enjoyed our homecoming activities.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
And,
homecoming was big, yep.
congratulations to all of our sports who are doing great work. And our music department also, who is getting ready for some amazing concerts. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn. Kelly, second Katie. Those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Linda?
Good night.